Welcome. What if I told you that right now, today, you're holding onto at least three things that are sabotaging your career's future? Not because you're failing, but because you've been taught to measure success by how much you carry, not what you create. This isn't hypothetical. It is a crisis every high achieving woman faces. And my next guest has the antidote. So meet Denisse Goldfarb. As the architect behind talent strategies for Fortune 500 giants like Microsoft and Walmart, she has cracked the code on what it truly makes to thrive in a world where job titles expire faster than milk. Her 100% future ready framework has empowered over 200,000 professionals to stop chasing all and start owning impact. Welcome to the Power Talks for Remarkable Females, and welcome, Denisse. Let's ignite revolution. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, Elena. Really very excited to be here with you. I am connected from Santiago, Chile, South America. Really amazing to share this conversation with you about career and future.
Yeah, I think it's a very important topic. It is something that we all think of, like how our career path will evolve and deploy. And at the same moment, sometimes we are so fully into this rat race that we don't take the time to reflect and to anticipate and to build that strategic agility. So I am super stoked that you are here. And for everybody joining us live here today, welcome. Denisse is a powerhouse, and I'm sure that you will learn a lot. If you have any questions or feedback or whatever you want to share with us, use the comment box and we will take it there. Even if you're watching or listening to the replay later on, you can still use the comment box to ask your questions because we will be monitoring it and then we will get back to you as soon as we can. Denisse, where do you want to start?
Maybe I want to start sharing something about my own story, about how I ended reflecting on career development and also future of work. I worked
Mm,
more than 23 years in big corporations such as Walmart, Microsoft, Telefonica also. And my career was a very traditional one, Elena. A linear career, always working. I am a psychologist. So I've been working in HR and human resources departments all my life.
mm,
And when I reached the role that was for me really the last step at the corporate ladder, the role of Chief Human Resources Officer,
mhm,
something happened to me. It was like a crash inside my head because I think this was my dream to have this job in a big corporation. And now that I am here, I realize I have at least 20 more years of work. And I think I cannot do this anymore. I need to try new things, to have new challenges, and really to explore more about my own potential and what can I do
mm.
and how I can help other people. So
Yeah.
that was a very important moment in my career. And from that moment, I started to be the own designer of my career and not letting others to make decisions for me.
Yeah. That is so important. And thank you so much for sharing this, Anise, because we all tend to have this idea, this concept of a linear career, right? It's about studying very hard and then joining corporate life and then make promotion after promotion. And it's like very linear and predefined. And we don't even think of, is this what we really want? Can we do other things that will also, bring value to us and where we can bring value to an organization or to people or whoever who or what we want to serve. It's just like we are, I would say, not blindfolded, like the horse with these things that we just look in that direction and we don't see other possibilities, other opportunities. And so that also can keep us stuck, right? Because you became the CHRO of a large corporation, but a lot of people in HR with those dreams don't get there because it's a pyramid and there's only so few positions that are available. So that doesn't mean that we cannot have impactful and powerful and valuable positions outside of that. So
Yeah,
how does that work as a system, as a concept?
yeah. I think that most of people that were born in the X generation as me, we learned some rules of work. And that rules
Mm,
of work were talk about your company and your boss. They are going to help you to succeed in your career. And
mm,
you need to go to do your work, and someone is going to be watching you and knowing the exact moment when you can go to your next step. And we have a very passive attitude towards
yeah,
career. And
especially
when this
women, right?
happens, yeah, especially women. And when this happened to me, I said, oh, really? I need to start exploring what else I can do, because I think I can do other things besides human resources management. And it was not so easy to answer that question, Elena, to be very honest. And one of my decisions about how I can make this process of reflecting, I said, I think I need to go to study again. So I decided to go to a very disruptive program. I registered in the Singularity University in Silicon Valley, the executive program, and I paid that program for myself. And I spent 1 week in Silicon Valley with tech leaders and organizational leaders from all around the world, learning about exponential technology. So it was like very different. I was working at Microsoft at that time, but you know that this was very helpful. I think that training and learning, it's so important in our lives, because not only you can make updates about learning new things, but also you can know new people, having these new
Yeah.
conversations and open your mind. And when I came back, I decided I think I can do more things besides human resources. I can have an impact on education with conferences as a teacher. I can also make an impact on consultancy, and maybe later I can be a member of a board, of an organizational board. And that was so useful for me to
Mm.
really to see what are all my possibilities, the things that I like to do, and also where I think I can do an impact. And something happened there when I started writing this, because I made a PowerPoint. It was like a flower with all these circles and all these different areas. And also, I write companies, the name of the positions I wanted to have. And this was so useful because something happened inside my head, because all my energy that was like floating with no direction started focusing on this new career path. And that same year, a university called me to make classes for the first time. And also Walmart arrived to me to offer to me to be the new chief people officer. So it was like something happened inside my head, but also in my attention, in my energy. And from that year, I started owning my career, making my own decisions, and also looking and searching for these new opportunities. So I continue as a corporate executive for some years, but also at the same time, I started being a teacher at a university. And also, like a couple of years later, LinkedIn sent me an email to offer me to become an instructor for the Spanish library. So I also started recording courses. I have now 14 courses published in LinkedIn and 200,000 students. So it's really
Whoa.
amazing. And this started 4 years ago. So I started at the same time with this corporate, very linear career, but at the same time, I started proving new things. And also for the first time, Elena, proving like a new hat. I'm not only the human resources manager, I'm also a mentor, I'm also a teacher, I'm also a virtual instructor. So this was very important to me.
Oh, that's so powerful, Denise. And there's so many things to unwrap here. But what I hear and what I sense is that in a lot of us have careers where we have kind of anemia, right? Where we do the same things, and of course we get promoted and we take more responsibilities. But it's all in the same framework, and we see the same people, and we're in the same communities. And what I hear you saying is that you're like, oxygenated your career through, you said this PowerPoint with the flowers. I was thinking about mind mapping, but it is about visualizing all the possibilities and the opportunities and understand that we can do so much more. And then just go and do it. Just show up and do other things. And at the same time, things will come at you, not by coincidence, but because you put that energy in the universe, in the field, and also because you are also more not only attracting but also attentive to other possibilities, where before you would say no, that's not for me, or no, because you have put that in that framework and visualized that, it's something that you say, oh yes, this is something that relates to what I have been doing or writing or drawing. So I really love that. And at the same time, I have a question, because a lot of women that I know, they are already, like, I won't say overwhelmed, but they have a very busy schedule. And I just hear them say, but Denise or Helena, come on, how can we do that? When could we do that? A full-time job and then starting to teach and then starting to develop courses. I don't have time for that. I also have, I'm a parent, I'm a caretaker of my own parents. I want some me time. So how do you do that? Because I believe it's also a mindset to do that.
Yeah. You know that all human beings, as I know, we have 24 hours per day. So that's the
Exactly.
same for all of us. What's different for each one is how we prioritize that
Yeah.
hours and that time. Yeah. So I think it's very challenging really to set the goals what I need to do in a 24 hours time frame. I'm also a mother, I have two kids, I have a husband. And I think that if you really need and you really are sure that you want to design your future career, you really need to understand that what are you doing for your own employability.
Mm.
And I think that we need to understand that employability has two dimensions. One dimension is the internal employability. The internal employability talks about what you are doing to get to higher positions or have more opportunities in your current job, in your current position. So maybe I am working at a company, I am, I don't know, the director of finance, and I spend all the hours of my day working for this company. But there's a second dimension of employability, and it's the external employability, Elena. And that's mean I am attractive as professional for other companies. And we need to do that question, and it's very important to ask that question. And how I can know if I am really attractive for other companies. And there's one way to know that. And this is a question. On the last 12 months, have you received any call to offer you a job? Someone called you because they're interested in hiring you for another job. If the answer is no, you need to worry because something is happening with your external employability that maybe they're not seeing you. They don't know about you, they don't know how you can add value, or maybe the other option is that the work that you're doing now in your company maybe is not so attractive for the market. So in
Mm.
case A or B, you need to be worried because the job that you have now, it's not going to last forever.
Mm.
So what are you going to do when your current job finish because maybe you are not attractive for the market? So I think that we need to understand that maybe after thinking about, oh, how I can manage my time, I think you need to ask these kind of questions, and also to understand that it's okay to give all your time for your current employer, your current position, but also you need to understand that you need to also to build something for your future. And maybe
Mm.
you are going to spend 90%, 95% in your current job, but maybe, I don't know, a university ask if you can go to give a 2 hour speech about telling about you, your company, and maybe a best practice. It's a 2 hours, 2 hours of your time. It's not going to be so much amount of time. So maybe you can do that. Or maybe you can be a mentor. Mentorships are also like 1 2 hours per month. So it's not really a big amount of time. Also, you can do a master, and the master is going to be a lot of hours for your time, but you can choose how I can start maybe having more attention for my external employability. How can others get to know me and the value that I can add? So I think that's very important, because if you start doing this with advance, this is going to be much, much easier in the future.
Yeah. I like that. And this is real life scenario, yeah, because with AI and all the other technologies coming, our jobs will change in the very near future. And this external employability, I believe it is such an important thing that a lot of us as women feel very reluctant to do. And I love the examples that you have. But for example, we both are very active on LinkedIn and we both know how to read profiles. I think only there is already so much area for improvement for so many of us in terms of having your LinkedIn profile completely updated and having a LinkedIn profile that really stands out, where people can see what's your worth, what's your value, what's your added value. And I love these things like becoming a mentor or taking classes or having another master on your in your backpack, but also write an article or writing posts. And a lot of us women, we feel like, yeah, why should we show up there? There's so many things already happening there. Who am I to do that? Who will listen to me? Who will read what I write? That's the whole thing, because it's also a mindset, isn't it? It's also a mindset of I have value and I know my value, I know my words, and I'm not afraid to show up and to demonstrate it. And that's about leadership and self leadership and about growth. And I really love that external employability aspect. And you can do the same internally, right? As be a coach or a mentor internally, or go after a project that is a little bit different from your standard role, where you will meet other people, where you will be involved in other activities or practices than you normally do. There's so many possibilities, right?
Yeah.
So, what is it that keeps us from that, Denise?
It's a very popular concept coming here, the imposter syndrome. That it's really not only for women, that women, I think that we're especially attached to this imposter syndrome. And that I realized when I became a women mentor 8 years ago, that I had these mentees, great professionals, so talented, really amazing women. And when I started asking about themselves, they became like a little chicken. Oh, I don't know. I really don't deserve this. I'm not so good. And it was, this cannot be possible. I'm looking with a lot of data facts that this is a really wonderful woman, professional. But when we need to talk about ourselves, we really became like other person, and we don't like to be this like show off, this bossy women. And I think this is a lot with the cultural thing about how we grew up, maybe encouraging little kids about, oh, you need to be very aspirational, you need to have big objectives, and maybe women are more related to all service, to take care of others. And if you see the career election of women, or a boy or men, it's when women, it's very different, because women, in my case, I studied psychology to understand people's mind. Yeah. And most of the of men like maybe engineering or mathematics and other kind of stuff. So I think that we're in the right time to make a shift there. The STEM careers, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, there's a lack of women there. And this is really very worrying, because all what's coming now with the
Yeah,
new technologies, with AI, are being designed mostly with men designing.
exactly. Yeah.
So we
Mm.
really need to have more women there.
Yeah.
And I think, Elena, that it's very useful to understand that this is a phenomenon that it's very common between women. And I think that's why we need to talk about these things, have this podcast, to have a mentor, to go to, I don't know, to groups of women to discuss these kind of things. Because
Yeah.
when we realize that other women it's thinking the same as me, and that really this is not good, because we're not going to open, we're not going to have new opportunities if we really think this way. I think that we can make a change, that we can make the
Mm.
challenge that maybe if I can prove of really optimizing my LinkedIn profile, of sharing this post about my experience, my learnings, what's going to happen? And you know
Yeah.
that sometimes it's about that. It's not so difficult to what's going to happen if you do that?
Yeah.
What
Exactly.
can be wrong
What's the
there?
worst that can happen? Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
Elena, I want to share that after all these reflections and also about doing all this new career plan, I share this in my book. This is the
Yeah.
flower I am telling, the
Yeah.
flower with my new career plan, and this is my book, 100% future ready. This
Yeah.
was launched first in Spanish. In Spanish the name it's Consciente de mi futuro, and
Mm.
2 months ago I made the launch in English. And in this book I share the CAM formula. CAM, it's C for career, A apprenticeship, and M it's about market identity. So with this formula, the CAM formula, these are the three pillars that you need to work on, you need to manage to really to open new opportunities on your career, and really to become the designer of your career, and not waste time because your company or your boss it's going to say, Elena, now you're ready, you can go to this new role. Why we need to wait? We
Yeah.
need to understand where we want to go, but also
Mm.
we need to be very responsible here and understand how I can prepare myself to be
Yeah.
worthy, to really
Yeah.
to reach to that goal. So that's career. It's like the vision, the plan you need to set on your next steps, short term, middle term, and long term. And then
Mm.
apprenticeship is how can I prepare myself? What I need to learn, what experiences I need to have to really to be worthy to arrive on the midterm to this new role. So learning, it's not only about courses and it's not about reading books, it's also about experience, because 70% of all that we learn it's from experience, learning by doing. 20% it's about learning from others, and only 10% it's study.
Yeah.
So we need to understand that every day we can learn new things. And the third pillar, Elena, it's about market identity. And market identity, it's about personal brand, about how can we manage the personal brand. And what happens here and why it's so important, and what I can say is that this third element, this third pillar, it's the most difficult of all. Hmm?
Yeah.
I
Why
have
is that?
already, yeah, I have data about this because my tests have already more than 1,500 responses, and market identity is the lowest of all in the test. And women especially have a problem with this. Market identity means about how I need to recognize on myself what I'm good at, how I can serve the world, what I am really very good at, and understanding that how you can share this in two ways. First, directly, because I know you, I work with you, we have a conversation, so you're going to get noticed that really Denisse is good at this. But then you have many more people, in other countries that they are maybe not going to get directly to you, and how you can reach these people by digital channels. And LinkedIn, it's the biggest professional platform. So we need to work on both, on
Mm.
how we can manage our network, how we can get to know new people, and how I'm going to share about all the value that I have. But also, when someone put my name in Google, Helena Demuynck, what's going to arrive here? Mm?
Yeah.
And you know that today, that's not enough. Google is not enough today, because now you need to appear and to understand, if I put Helena Demuynck in ChatGPT, what's going to
Exactly.
arrive to me?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. First of all, Denise, kudos to you for writing the book and for then translating it also in English. And we make sure that the links to order the book are here in the comments and in the show notes, depending where you are listening or watching to this episode. And these three pillars are absolutely essential. Absolutely essential. Now, where do we start? If you say, okay, Denise, right, I read the book or I listen to you, and to be very honest, I'm like somewhere I have it, but okay, I'm convinced I need to do something. What would be like the first thing to do, the first action that gives you like a quick win?
Yeah. I want to share today my test.
Yes.
I don't know, Elena, if you can share in the chat.
Yes,
This is
we will
going to
share the
take,
link also in the comments, but I will copy paste the link for the test for those that are here live. I will make sure it's on all the social media that we are streaming right now. Okay, so it's going on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn right now, but we'll make sure it is in the show notes. So tell us a little bit more about that test and how it can be like the start of this journey.
the test. It's about the CAM formula and about career, apprenticeship, and market identity. And career is so important because this is about your mindset, how you're going to think about yourself, how are you going to foresee you in the future. And it talks about internal employability and external employability, and also about your career vision. So, career has three different subdimensions. And then you're also going to have a rate on apprenticeship and market identity. So, this is very fast test. It's going to take 10 minutes or less to
Okay.
complete all the tests. And you're going to receive online your outcomes. So this is going to say, for instance, Elena, you're 65% future ready. And then I'm going to get the details about internal employability, your percentage there, external employability, career vision, apprenticeship, and market identity. So you're going to receive a feedback about what in these dimensions you need to focus more, you need to work on, and there you are going to have some recommendations. And of course, if you want to know more about this, you can buy my book on Amazon. It's available on Kindle. It's also on print on demand. And also, I have a TED talk, Elena. I don't remember if I told you about this, but I
I'm
have a
not
TED
sure.
talk, and it has already translation in subtitles. So I'm going to also to share with you the link of
The TED Talk.
the TED talk, and the
Okay.
name of the TED talk is "You're Going to Lose Your Job." That's the title of the.
It's very
Yeah,
confrontational.
yeah. It's like talking with these very busy women executive in high executive roles. I really don't have time for nothing else.
Yeah.
But you need to know that that job, it's not going to last forever. So you need to start doing new things, and also to reflect and have a conversation with yourself about what you want to do in the future. And you
Yeah.
need to build that way from now,
Yeah.
not when you're fired, or not when are you going to quit that job. You need to
Yeah.
start working on that now.
It's like you just say, you have to develop a vision on that, right? So, like,
Yeah.
you could be broader and larger than what is happening, and understanding what it also takes and how you can build that employability. I like to work with strategic agility, being like having that vision on who you want to become or what roles that you want to take up and what it is that you need to build in terms of capacity and capabilities and skills in order to deal with the hurdles and setbacks that will certainly come your way, because that's how life is organized, right? But it is about being prepared. And that vision is so important. Thank you for mentioning that. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
And so you say a lot of people have already taken the test. So you also have like an idea of trends. So is it too early to ask? Can you make some
I can share some of
conclusions?
them. I know that these first insights are from people in Latin America and Spain, because
Okay.
this new test was launched only 2 months ago, but I have these first insights. And one thing that was really interesting is that I thought that I will find some differences between men and women. And you know
Mhm.
that statistically, there was no differences between men and women.
Oh,
In
really? That
no,
surprises me.
in any dimension. So there
Mm.
really not importance difference, but
Interesting.
there's difference in the age. It's very different when I have a person from 50 years old instead of 25 years old. They have
Okay.
different visions. And that maturity, I think that the years are good for our career because they have people that are older. They have best outcomes in all this career vision and also in the market identity and the personal brand. They have better outcomes there. And
Yeah.
also, another important difference is between people that work for an employer and people that work as independent. The
Okay.
highest scores of all are from people that are independent.
Entrepreneurial, of course.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
surprised. Yeah.
entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs. And I think, Elena, you're going to understand this because when you are independent, when you're a solopreneur, you become instantly your own commercial director. And if you don't talk about yourself, you're not going to sell and you're not going to have the earnings that you need to have.
Exactly.
So we need to work on the personal brand and also we need to study all the day to be a lifelong learner because we need to be very updated to know about new trends and to really to understand what are the problems out there that I can solve.
Yeah. Yeah. Denise, for me, there's no surprise in the fact where you say that entrepreneurs are more agile than corporates, although this is very black and white and it's labeling, of course, but just as a trend. And I see that a lot of corporate executives that would love to be their own boss and start their own business, that this is one of the reasons why they are very reluctant and hesitant. Okay, my branding, how do I start?
Yeah.
But the interesting thing that you have here is that you say that the older generation is scoring better than the younger generation. And I
Yes.
understand the maturity. And at the same time, I would say younger generations are much more agile and they're much more adapted to technology and AI and devices and apps and things like that. So, what can they learn from each other?
Mm.
If you would take the generations like and put them together in terms of these three pillars of the agility for career, what can they
Mm.
learn from each other and how can they learn from each other? I think that would be amazing advice also for people listening or watching this episode, because they could do that. I imagine mothers with their daughters having those conversations because that's intergenerational. But then also, of course, the more senior profiles with more junior profiles have that conversation. So, what kind of conversations could they have in order to learn from each other there?
Of course, one of my LinkedIn courses is about how you can manage intergenerational teams. I think there's a lot of advantages of what you can do of having older people and youngest people. The younger generations, of course, they are digital generations. They were born with internet. I have a 17 years old daughter and she really realized that when I was born, I didn't have internet. And I said, how could you survive that?
Exactly.
It's like I cannot imagine that world without internet.
Mm,
So I think that they are more tech savvy and I think that we can learn from them about also to being very open to learning, to try new things and maybe not avoid risk. I think that's some of the features that the youngest generations have. And the X generations or the baby boomers, I think that we are realizing that we're going to be working for many more years because we're maybe not going to stop working at 60 or 65 because we're going to live 100 years, Elena.
yeah, we were
Can
talking
you
about
believe
that last week. Exactly. What if you grow hundreds? And how are you going to, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
Because right now,
I'm not going to be staring at the window looking to my garden for 40 years. That's
not at, there again, there's a system because we are so predefined by the system. This is something people that know me have heard this before, but we study very hard, then we have a career, work very hard in this linear path that is also pre-designed for us, and then we stop. Really,
Yeah,
I mean, I turned 60 in December, in January, and people were saying, "Oh, like now you're in this age growing towards your retirement." And I said, "No, I'm not." And they said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I don't want to retire. Why would I retire? As long as I can add value, as long as I can contribute, I will do my things. And it might be completely different in 10 years than what I do now.
of
But
course.
you don't have to stop, especially not with the life expectation that we have. Yes, I love gardening and I love walking with my dog, and I do that now as well. It's about integration. But I think that we have to stop also thinking that we will no longer be contributing once we're 67. And I understand for many people that sounds very strange, because I also know that there are people that have a very hard job and that say we cannot imagine doing this in 10 or 15 years. But then there you go with your book and your cam. We can do completely different things. We can redesign and reinvent our careers
Yeah.
based on what we want to do, but also what we can do, and the wisdom and expertise that we have acquired. Maybe we can shift it in another way. So I think it's so important. Yeah,
Of course,
absolutely.
Elena. What we want to do and how we want to live. I think that's
Yeah,
two questions that are very important and that you're going to need to reinvent yourself.
all the
Because,
time.
yeah, because you know that when you turn 50, it's harder to find a traditional job in a company. So that's not so easy. And
Mm,
you're going to be very active, very smart. You're going to have a lot to give to others. And in
exactly.
what ways, what other channels, what other hats I can prove as a
Yeah,
teacher, as a mentor, as a consultant. There are different roles that you can have, and not only in a company set
yeah,
position. So we need
exactly.
to understand that.
It's
Yeah.
about redefining career and it's about redefining success, right? Because success has been defined for decades like this linear career, and you make promotion
Mm.
after promotion and after promotion. And even a couple of decades ago, success was working for the same company for 30 or 40 years. Thank God that has changed already. But if we can change that definition, then we can also change other elements of definition. And it's about creating your own definition of success and creating your own idea of career. And I know that your parents and certainly your grandparents will say, "What? You're crazy. Don't do this. Your security, your safety, things like that." But we don't build our careers for our parents or our grandparents. We build them
No,
for ourselves and for our stakeholders.
in the book, I put my, at least my new definition of career success. It's not only money. Money is important, but it's only one of the things. The second thing is time.
Yeah.
If I am, I don't know, a consultant of McKinsey and I work 80 hours per week,
Minimum.
maybe, and another person works 30 hours per week and wins the same salary, who is more successful there?
Yeah.
Of course, the one that have more time for himself. And the third factor that I think it's also important in this new digital era is the geographic freedom that you're going to have. I can work from my city, I can work from anywhere else. I can be a digital nomad, I can travel and I can still work. I think that that's are the three new definitions of success in your
Yeah.
career. Yeah.
Yeah.
So money, time, and geographical freedom.
Yeah. And time is also related with, I would say, before it was about hard work. I think now it is about smart work, and it is a focus on the outcome and on the quality of the output.
Yeah.
Because the hours that you spend behind your desk or behind your computer or wherever, this is still based on our industrial era. When we were, you remember this Charlie Chaplin movie of the guys in the car factories and Henry Ford's factories. You had to be there and you had to
Yeah.
produce that on the track. But since most of the work that we do now is basically intellectual work and knowledge work and consulting, it is about efficiency and effectiveness, not about how many hours you do. And still, in many cultures and in many organizations and industries, it's still about billable hours, not
Yeah.
about the quality of the output or the result of the work. It's about the billable hours. And
Yeah,
as long
yeah.
as we have that, it's a different exercise. It's a difficult
But to,
conversation.
yes, to be fair, you know that not only all the jobs can do remote work. There's
Exactly.
doctors, for instance. You
Mhm.
have a lot of roles that they need
Yep.
to be there physically to work. So I think that this does not apply to all the roles,
Yep.
but for many roles it applies that you can work remotely on and also flexible hours.
Yeah, absolutely. But even the work that requires people being in a certain location, that will also change dramatically once we have robots. And we cannot deny that they are there already, but they're not in the street yet. Although, but a lot of things will be a lot of things that we do like manually will be replaced by robots. But whether we
Yeah,
like it or not, it is a
yeah,
reality. And if we are not prepared to rethink ourselves and our careers, then, like you say, we will be left behind a certain moment. That was the title of our talk, right? It's about not
yeah.
being left behind. And so it is about preparing without panicking, without being afraid, but just by being creative and resourceful and understanding our worth, understanding what we can do and what we can achieve in the longer run. Your work is extremely important, Denisse, to help people and to support people in that journey and in that exploration of what it is that we can do in order to shift our career perspectives and create new visions about careers that are sustainable and that are long term. I believe that is so
Yeah.
important. Yeah. So with
And
that, yeah,
yes.
please.
No, I wanted to say that I think that the main shift that needs to happen here, it's inside your head.
Yeah.
About thinking that really your career doesn't define all what you're going to do at work. You have much more inside you, all your interests, your emotions. So you need to have, I think, a second opinion here or third opinion, asking others how they what they think about you, how you can deliver value, and what you can do besides your current job. I think that's a very good exercise to do when you don't know how can I start. I just did this test of this Goldfarb. I see the podcast and what I can do next. I think it's a very good exercise to start having these conversations. And for me, it was so insightful because a lot of people knew better than me what I needed to do in my future. So it was like so crazy, Elena, that for other people, it was like crystal clear. Oh, you're very good at this, and you should be independent. You should have your own consultancy firm. And I was like, what? What?
Mm, yeah.
And I think it took more time to me to realize that they were right and that looking inside me, I had all the potential and all the skills to be independent, to quit my job from corporations. But it was not so easy after more
Yeah.
than 20 years
I understand.
to take the risk and to
Yeah.
also to be open to that. But you need to do that with time. For me, it
Yeah.
was very important when I spent 4 years as an executive, also making classes and being a virtual instructor. So I think it helped a lot to not to do like from 100 to zero. I think you
Yeah.
need to start building this way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Denise, to wrap up, what can we do? First of all, we take the test. So we have clarity, like where we are, where we have most area for improvement. We can read the book, right? I make sure that all the information is in the show notes. And then third of all is to have these conversations with yourself and also with people that have your back, with people that support and sponsor your success. So be mindful who you are talking about
Yeah.
this. right?
Yes.
Because there are people, and especially friends, families, and partners, that might be or feel disrupted and insecure if you are talking about doing something completely different. And they might project their fears or their discomfort or the idea that this is not in their best interest if you change. So be careful who you're talking with, who you let yourself open to input in impact and influence. But I think these three steps can already make us move a lot. Any last words, Denise?
My last word is that you need to believe in yourself. If
Hmm.
you don't start believing in yourself, no one else is going to believe in you. So I think that's very important. And also understand what is your real potential
Yeah.
and how you can develop your potential beyond your current job. I think that's
Mm.
very important, and
Yeah.
how you want to live your next years.
Yeah. Absolutely. Beautiful. Denise, thank you so much for being here, for joining us with your wisdom and your experience and your book and your test. These are all things that we will absolutely explore and elaborate and make available for everybody that is interested. For everybody that was here, thank you so much for joining us, for bearing with us. We have a power talk every week. Every week, we have an amazing woman, sometimes a man, who shares with us interesting things that are helping us to develop our self leadership or professional leadership. If you want to see more episodes, then go to the YouTube channel where everything is available for you. Denise, thank you once again. All the best with. I'm looking forward also to your research and the results of all the tests and the trends
Yeah,
and the
I need
things
to
that you
share
see.
something interesting there is that this test, it's a new test that it's
Mhm.
powered by Qualtrics. It's a worldwide platform. I really believe that now in English, it's going to reach really many countries, many people. So I am very eager to share more outcomes with a wider quantity of persons.
Absolutely looking forward to that. And you are developing your brand in that area. And I'm sure that we will be able to read more about all this on LinkedIn, on your profile, and on other publications. Thank you so much. For
Thank you.
everybody, great to have you here. Thanks for joining us and looking forward to see you again. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.